back to the next lecture. What is that? So, wait, what is that? Oh, space. Let's go back to our emanations of light. This is part 3 of your light worker training. So now in part 2, we did some work at getting rid of some of your fear, because fear is anathema to magic or alien technology. So now we want to continue looking at how the light travels by visualizing a schematic of it, because in a movie you need to have everyone on board with what the movie is going to look like. And so these schematics I'm going to be showing you will help you see that. And if you don't know what schematics are, open the description box and there are 2 videos that will tell you what they are. So I made a bit of a mistake a few weeks ago, because one thing I realized is that when you go to the dream world that we all go to, you see people's faces and you think that you know who these people are when you wake up. And a few weeks ago, I went and I saw someone who looked like a famous person that I'd seen before in real life on TV. And this person's name on Instagram is it's Hella Mark Harley. And he calls himself the Gay Lion. He's a comedian, and that's going to make sense in a second, by the way. He's a comedian, and he's super funny, can also do serious work. And so I messaged him, and I said, hey, because I saw him in a dream, right? And I woke up, and then I messaged him, and it's on there. You can go look on his profile, one of his pictures, his videos. And I said, hey, I need some advice, because he told me something in Lumania, right? If you don't know what Lumania is, go to the main page and figure it out. But he told me something and I needed him to clarify. So now that I found real people who've been here, I'm like, well, let me just talk to these people in real life and see what happens. And I've tried it before, and I'll tell you about that at the end. But this one I asked him because it was 2-3 weeks ago. I said, hey, Mark, what do I do, or how can I be myself and still be famous? And then he said to me, why? Are you famous or something? And I was like, yeah, because that's what we were talking about in Lumania. And then he didn't know what I was talking about, obviously. And then, like, after this 8 hours ago, after today's course, I upload it, and then the algorithm shows me the real person that I saw. You're not going to believe this, guys. More proof. The proof just keeps spilling out. So I look on my phone and I see this man called at Christos Avatar. And this man looks exactly the same as this guy. It's a doppelganger. And this is going to make sense to where I'm going with how emanations of light work. It breaks up into different dimensions. And in each dimension, you have a copy of the light in the dimension before it that exploded, as we talked about in the ultimate vessels of light. And since it exploded, you get a copy that's different but similar. And so when I come out of Lumania or the mall world, I see people, but then there's some kind of interference pattern where you kind of crisscross. This is an example. I'm not saying these people are in different dimensions or dimensions as we are putting into the universe. I'm just saying that this is an example, a glitch, that if we trace it back using deductive reasoning, we can say, well, if the glitch is happening here on Earth, here's us. So if we say the glitch is happening here on Earth, it must be happening up here as well, in the pineal gland and visual centers, which build your reality. According to this very, very good psychology book. And so as we continue to make our schema, and this is an example of a schema, but we are continuing to make our own, we need to account for this interference. Because this interference creates a disturbance, or what we would call a destruction in the message. Sometimes it's called a diffraction or ripples. You can even call it a static. So you can imagine being a star marine, getting these light codes from across the galaxy, and there's some kind of static that kind of makes it garbled. And that's why secrecy is important and has been for ages, because one, if you say what you've seen immediately once you've seen it, then people might think you're crazy. People might think that you're a false prophet. People might think that you are dabbling in the dark arts. And so that creates an interference to the actual message. And it's different if you are a star marine, because like we mentioned in the previous lecture, when you get a prophecy, you don't choose it. You just go to sleep. You mind your business, you're walking around. I remember getting the prophecy of when there was that electrical outage in New York in the early 2000s. I was sitting in class and I touched something and it flashed in my mind, electrical outage, New York. And I just looked around because what am I going to say? Who am I going to, what? So you don't choose this. So the interference pattern comes out when people interact with the message. So I went to the Christian club, the SCC, and I told my teacher, and I was like, what do you think? And they were like, it could be demons. But it wasn't, because I was right. But the interference pattern was from the outside. With the marine powers, these people will go and divine. So they will use tarot cards or dowsing rods or pendulums and scrying. And for that as well, it's got an interference pattern from the outside in. Meaning, because you're using a tool to do it, there's many a slip to the cup and the lip. So you get people saying that they have false spirits talking to them. Yes, because this is connected to the 4D. And we told you that the 4D is the home of demons now and forevermore. So of course, they will come in and deceive you if they don't know you. And they only know you if you're in the order of Melchizedek. Metatron. If you know Metatron and Metatron knows you, you can do this. Because when they see you, they will not F with you. They will tell you what you need to know. Because you have the keys to this now. It's yours. And so one thing we must take into consideration is the great stress that the ancient Kabbalists put on the emanations of the light. There's a very strong need for us to remember that not everything is going to be rosy. There's going to be shadows created by these emanations. And the shadows are what you cannot be afraid of. And that's why shining a light on the past is important. To talk about it and let it go. I'm sure you all know Kylie Minogue. She wrote a song and in the song she asked you to confide. She even had a number, 1-800-CONFIDE. She told you to put your hand on the screen and connect. And she dressed up in different outfits and catered to your very specific needs. Then I came and I told you to let it go on the 19th of November, 2024. And I said, follow me. Let's be friends. Tell me. There's many things that come and go, but you got to let it go. And then Madonna told you, let it will be. And she said, now I can tell you about the stars in the sky, about the rise and the fall. Doesn't it make you smile? Let it will be. And then you would wonder, why are all of these people telling you this? Why do I see these people in Lumania when I go to sleep? Oops. And why do I say the same things as them? And I don't sit there and plan it, it just happens. I was traumatized when I wrote this. I wasn't even doing anything. I couldn't even watch movies because they were triggering. But zooming out and listening and looking, there's a kind of connection. So what's the difference between this, where I woke up and I was like, oh, I saw Hela Kali, and it turns out I saw Christos Avatar. So there was a lot of static there, interference. And then here, it seems to just, as I say in my debut single, as Mvikeli, version 3.5.7, flow like water. If you go to the description box, you can listen to it. And for me, it has to do with the keys of Lucifer. Yes, shock and horrors. What are these keys? Oh, Aaron knows Christos Avatar. That's insane. That's insane, Aaron. You see what I'm saying? So I was looking at the wrong person, and all along it was Christos. And oh, this is the twist. I forgot the twist. My mom is going to be like, how can you forget the twist? That's the whole... Now this is the twist. So Hela Kali does this character where he calls himself the gay lion. Then when I see Christos Avatar and he's talking in the like channeling, he has this similar way of acting, and it's so like mind-blowing, because I feel like I was channeling that kind of vibe in one of the Sunday lessons. So it's like, what is that light energy, right? But it's a perfect example of the emanations that I'm going to be showing you in this. Because it's like it just flows through like some kind of Wi-Fi. And the best way to describe it, because the best way that it flows clearest without static, is through music. There's just something in music that makes connecting to yourself different, because you don't even have to think about it. As soon as you hear the first few bars of your favorite song, you already decided that you're going to stand up and start grooving. So it's an instant connection, like 5G. And so let's use famous people, because it will be easier for me to explain the kind of feel or vibe that, is coming off these different dimensions and spheres. And so I'll be using not the real famous people, but the parasocial image and, aura that they give off that leads people to have parasocial relationships with them. I'm going to be using the idea of that to talk about them, because obviously I don't know these people in real life. I only know them in Lumania. And so I'm going to talk about them based on their public profiles and what I've learned in Lumania, just for the purposes of this film. So let's draw the schematic, shall we? So, this schematic is going to be quite revolutionary for you, because you are going to see reality differently after this. So, warning, this may alter your current reality. Are you ready to play? Now, if you noticed in the night game videos, the night game ARG videos, because it is a game after all, and this is the movie based on the game. In those videos, I used the voice of an Australian lady because I spent so much time with Kylie Minogue in the fifth dimension that I could only imagine an Australian lady doing the voice. And so I went online and looked for a free one, and I got it. But now for these levels, I use my own voice. I just put it through an AI, and then I type in what I want to say, and it speaks. Because, you know, that's how Star Marines do. I've been doing that in Lumania for years, so it's about time I do it here. So let's make a circle, because we must draw a magic circle to contain everything. Just getting the measurements. No. This big. Okay. So I just want to draw my little magic circle. And then we will draw the sixth dimension. And because I told you in the first part of this lecture, the different dimensions have different rulers. And the different rulers are different aspects of the same energy or the same light. And these different rulers have territories. And in the territories, they have governments. So I want us to look at those governments as if they were real. People that we already know. Because it'll be easy for you to understand the filtration of light. Uh-oh. I am not a Freemason, so please forgive me. It's like when I'm driving, I can't talk. Uh-oh. Oh, you just do that. Right. Hmm. See, I'm not a drawer. I am gonna get this right. Okay, let me activate my Lumanian powers. We're gonna do this. I hope you have a snack. Because one thing we can say for sure is, oh, that's a good idea. See, Lumania always gives, no, that's a bad idea. That was from the fourth dimension, guys. That wasn't from Lumania at all. Then I should do that. I'm too right-brained. Well, I'm just right-brained enough. Oh, that's why. We're getting there. See, we need this to be here. Okay, you ready? It's like the moon. This is terrible. You know, I always go freehand. Yeah, we're off to a banging start, aren't we? As long as you get the idea. Okay. I feel like my freehand is better than that. So, outside of our construct that we are building to pre-visualize, I want you to think of a kind of outside dimension. Like this is a cube, okay? And outside is the light, inside is reality. So it's like the artificial light. It's the Venus machine that came through. And so that machine was six-sided, 6 dimensions, 6 dimensions. We're gonna get there. Valerie Cherish got it, we'll get it too. So here's the one side. Here's the other. Bisexuals cannot talk and concentrate at the same time. So please. Whenever I was teaching and I'd keep quiet, I'd always remember my acting training and think, dead air, dead air. And also people would start talking in class, which would be annoying. So I just keep vamping and talking. But in Lumania, I don't have to. So I like it here. There we go. And then just to give it some extra dimension, because now this is a principality. This is Venus. So these are the borders. And just like you humans like your walls, these are the walls of Venus. Recently, I mean, it's obviously changing all the time based on the amount of light that gets filtered in at any given moment. It will be fine. We'll fix it in post. Okay, so let's then draw the fifth dimension. So let's measure this. The fifth dimension is this color. So it's about there. There-ish. So this is the fifth dimension. Can I freehand this? But not there, like here. Like here. And not there, but like here. I've always been more of a sketcher. Yeah. So why aren't I sketching? Yeah. Okay. Who said aliens have to draw straight lines all the time? So we're going to take things down a little bit now. This is another new song from the album. It's called Chocolate. Fragile sea. Okay, that's a pentagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where we go to in Lumania. And then, of course, there's the dear old... Okay, let's make that also a thing. These are the borders. Okay. It's very creative there, so the borders might not necessarily. They'll be a bit more avant-garde, and I'll tell you why. They're a bit Kunsti. Oh, this is terrible. No, this is what happened after the battle. This is the Philadelphia experiment fault. Okay, so there's the fifth dimension. And then there used to be a fourth dimension here, but we fought the battles. You guys remember, you saw what happened. If not, go to my Instagram. And look at the highlights. And look at run, poem run. And you'll see how we defeated the Leviathan. And now the fourth dimension is in a box in the middle of the thing. But first, let's do the third. dimension. Oops. So there's the third. You know how the third is. It's all about expediency. See, this is the Satanism of the third. And then let's do it on the outside here. See, we'll do a design. There we go. And then we have, so let me just highlight that. That's much better. This is not dark enough for me. Visual medium. Much better. Just more vibrant. The only thing that circle's protecting is you from leaving it. We've been waiting for you, Caroline. Waiting for you to believe. It doesn't work if you don't believe. Okay, and then let's do the fourth dimension. Cancelled. So in Greek mythology, you've all heard the story of how Jupiter defeated Saturn. And so Saturn, who was the Lord of the Rings, deferred to Jupiter, Eupiter, Eusis, Jesus. So now that's where we are. That's where we've been since the beginning of time. But because of the trauma of the fourth dimensional Lyrian, Orion wars, everyone here on Earth still thinks that it's still happening. And people keep reliving the psychic traumas over and over again. After 1945, there should never, ever have been another war. But yet it continues and people don't understand why. And so I'm here to tell you, as the alien, that the reason why is because you haven't let it go. There's nothing left to fear because we are already here. And we understand that it's taken you a long time because the emanation of light used to take a long time. But now that you know the good news, We have won. It's time to celebrate. So I'm going to make these lines darker over here so they show up better. But these are the principality lines of each heaven. So when people have visions and they say, oh, I saw this famous celebrity in hell and they're burning and burning. When people say that, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about going to different emanations of light. And yes, everything that they see is correct for them. Because everything they see is actually a reflection of them and where they are. Because I've never seen that. I've never seen that. So I would guess that the people who see that are seeing from Bizarro World. But I'm not sure because even in Bizarro World, I've never seen flames. I've never seen people screaming and being in pain, but I have seen goths and clowns, but they were over there, like way over there. And then one time there was this like goth biker I don't know, like Berlin. There was Berlin. Remember in the blacklist when Berlin went and became a goth? That's what I've seen. That's the scariest thing I've seen, Berlin. I knew from the first episode what that I was like, that is not a teacher. Trust me, that is not a teacher. If you've seen the blacklist, episode 1, you'll know. I mean, if it was a teacher, I would have signed up to that school, is what I'm saying. Like, where's that? Not. So let's look at the different rulers. So let's say, for argument's sake, that instead of thinking of Venus as like this, I don't know, pastiche of Ishtar and Isis and Aphrodite and Lilith and whatever, because Lilith is not Venus, by the way. But instead of putting all of that together, Lilith is in there with Samael, her friends. They're all in there. Bound by this. And since this has been fulfilled, I'm coming like a grief counselor with this, so that everyone can let it go and move on and take in more light. So out here is the light. So let's put some famous names in Hollywood royalty. Let's use that as an example. Just an example. So let's say you would have James Earl Jones, just people who are so just light. Anthony Hopkins. Tom Cruise. Okay, so these are just the light. They looking at us, they pouring out their light to us, and then the Draco send Venus. Venus barrels in through the light and creates this separation, these dimensions going. And this is what the Bible is talking about when they talk about principalities of the air. Because dimensions or hyperspace is fires of the ethers. Fires of the ethers. Because you all know about fires of the air, radiation. You know about fires of the waters, hot springs. But do you know about fires of the earth? Friction. A match. And fires of the, did we do air? Yeah, radiation. So what we're missing? Air, fire, earth, water. Fires of earth. Air, radiation, water, hot springs, fire. Oh, the sun. Elementals. Jinn. Yes, okay. Fire and then earth. Friction. Okay. But we are a 5-pointed machine. Remember, we are star marines, and a star has 5 sides. That's why the pentagon, we must work there. So the dimensions are made from the fires of the ethers. And the ethers is a private lesson. It's a 500 lesson. So if you notice, all the lessons have a number coding, like there's 100, 101, 398, 497, 498, 401, the 333. These differentiate the level of stuff you need to know before we talk about it, so that you don't just get lost in a haze. So if it's 101, it's going to be a little bit slower. We're going to take our time. If it's a 500, it's going to be a little bit quicker, and I'm going to be assuming you know what the ethers are. You've seen the ethers, you've spoken to the ethers, the guardians of the ethers, and the element, like everything. So we're not going to go into it now. But if you want to get an idea of what they are like as an energy, think of James Earl Jones. Think of Anthony Hopkins. Think of Tom Cruise. They are like fires of the ethers. They're just otherworldly. And when you look at their work, I mean, James Earl Jones was Othello. You don't get any better than that. And it's like, well, when you look at the news today, they tell you that he was supposed to be suffering and in segregation, but he played Othello, and even worse, Othello was always black. So whenever they wrote it 1,000,000 years ago, black people could act. So that's what you learn with the fires of the ethers, which is important when you are receiving and becoming a vessel. You need to learn the real reality, not this. Anthony Hopkins, have you ever seen his movie Slipstream? After you watch Slipstream, you will know that Anthony Hopkins is for sure. And the redhead. No, but Anthony Hopkins is for sure an Etherian. And then obviously Tom Cruise, we don't need to talk about that. That goes without saying, like everything. What do I put? Ether for everything. Okay, so these are the kinds of energies of light, or let's call them star powers, because these are actual stars that we're talking about. Should we go in a little bit more? There we go. Is that better? All right, so if all these three people came together, James, Anthony, and Tom, and they said to themselves, okay, we're pouring in our light around this cube that's full of light, then this artificial machine comes in. And this artificial machine is coding. It's a code. So let's put in some names that we all know to help us better understand. Let's use a pen now. So let's say this machine is coded with Gwyneth Paltrow. She's in there. Is it seeable? Gwyneth. Oprah. Robbie Amell. Oops, Robbie. Ian Anthony Dale. And Dave Chappelle. And let's have some Bollywood influence. Aishwarya Rai. Okay. So this is the machine in this schematic, just for fun, in this movie, that the Dracos sent to make up for their sins. They were like, we want to make up for everything, so let's fix everything and send this machine to make this thing, this redemption program, where humans can go back to Jesus because the wicked one, the twisting one, has repented. He's dead. He's won. I mean, he's lost. We've won. He's in here. He's locked, is what I wanted to say. And so because he's locked, we don't need to worry about him anymore. So we wanted to send a machine full of the most positive people we've met in Lumania. So these are examples: Gwyneth Paltrow, Oprah, Robbie Amell, Ian Anthony Dale, Dave Chappelle, and Aishwarya Rai. So they are the best. All of them together are the light. the AI. And so they emanated, though, from these three people. We should put Salman Khan there. Sorry, Anthony, I'm taking you out because we need three. I'm sacrificing you, Anthony. Salman Khan. Okay. So we've encoded this light. It's all beautiful. It comes in. It almost mimics the real light. But this is artificial. But artificial is good because it's perfect. Because it has error correcting codes built into it. Because it knows what's going to happen because it did it. The Dracos made this to fix what they did, so they know the best error correcting codes. Us, Star Marines. But in order to embed us and seed us, they had to put us in the best artificial light sequence. And so let's say that these 6 people are the parliament of this heaven, of this domain. And they each own different things. But we're not going to talk about that now. Let's just talk about their rulership. So if I say, oh, I went to Lumania and I spoke to Venus, I'm not talking about going to a planet up there that's got nothing on it. It's a dead planet. There's nothing there because that place is finished. I'm talking about going to the 6th heaven, to the 6th dimension. And now so think of these as screens, okay? And some people can see through the screens, and some people need to use cards or tea leaves or numbers or pendulums or dowsing rods to see in there. But either way, we can see in there. Now, normally as a Star Marine, because you are $100, you are the 100, you normally get pulled out because your star's the strongest. Get it now? So one of these people will pull you, Oprah will pull you out and take you to the 6th heaven and show you things. Aishwarya Rai will pull you out without even an appointment. Dave Chappelle will orb you out from a distance. Ian Anthony Dale will do many things to you, which we cannot say in this lecture. Come to the 6th dimension and you'll see. Robbie Amell will do those too. And protect you and fight, to protect he's like the military of this dimension. And Oprah's the sage of it. And let's say Gwyneth Paltrow is the embodiment of the beauty of it. And the beauty of her is that she tests everything, just like the light. The light likes to test everything because it is the wisdom, it is the chokhmah. But inherent in wisdom is darkness too, because you know everything. And when you know everything, you know that there are just some bad actors out there. And so that was encoded in here to protect against that. But we won't talk about the black tree or the shadow tree, the telepathic tree. We're just going to focus on the light because we are talking about emanations of light. So let's say these people are on a spaceship right now in the sixth dimension and they are watching us. And they come together and they say, okay, we have a plan. We are coming to do a 3D project here so that we can trap the 4D people in there. But before we can do that, before we can make 3D beings, before we even create Adam and Eve, if you want to say that, we need to seed the fifth dimension so that these 3D kids, when they go to sleep, they have somewhere to go. They have a nice construct of their own that they can go to. Because if they come here, their bodies will melt. They cannot come to the sixth dimension body-wise. So in order to not shock them, like the people in the Bible who saw things like eyes and spinning eyes and all these things, let's just keep them in a construct called the fifth dimension that we will protect and control from the sixth, so nothing can harm them. They are fully protected in this Merkaba that we've built. And so they talked and talked. And since these people came in, that's when the fourth dimension shattered, remember, and became the constellation in the skies. Like a record, a historical document of our star history, galactic history. But just like a CD, no one cares about this anymore. That's why you're going to go and stream my music, which is free, on YouTube. Just go to the description box and click on the playlist, Night Game, NG. It's written there because CDs are obsolete. So we stream. And so that's what these people did. They streamed their energy through. But because this sixth dimension has more space in it, it can hold more light. So when the light emanates or seeps through, it needs to be sorted by quality. So the best, or let's say the most concentrated light is out here. But then they have so much, they say, let's let some light go. Let's let it emanate. Let's let it go to the new generation in this dimension. I'll get it. If Valerie Cherish can get it, I can get it, okay? And so after discussing for a long time, they decided to come up with a few people to seed this place with. So let's do... I'll write it here. So they started with Lady Gaga. And Bradley Cooper. And they said, we need some souls, some light bodies that can be able to appreciate freaks. Because the freaks are really the creatives, the people who bring through change, who offer the alternatives when the status quo fails, as it invariably does. And then they talked and talked some more. And they said, you know what? We need Rina Sawayama and Trevor Noah. Because we need perspectives from all over the world. We need people who've lived different lives to have a voice. Because the one thing in Bizarro world is no one has a voice. The music in Bizarro world controls you. As soon as they play that rock and roll, you just stand up and move like you are being puppeted, like In Sync from the Bye 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 music video. No strings attached, the album. That's what it's like over there. And so they said, nope, we need Rena and Trevor to break the mold and be a voice for the voiceless. And then they continued talking and talking. And then they were like, you know what? We also need Terrence Howard and Taraji P. Henson. Like, no, we definitely need them so that they can talk about things, because they can let things go easily. So they'll be able to be examples of just talking things out and letting it go. And then Ian Anthony Dale and Dave Chappelle huddled in a corner, and they said, hey, you know, we also need Madonna and Mirwez. Because they have the best technology. They have amazing technology. It is out of this world. And then Aishwarya Rai and Robbie Amell were like, you know what we need to round this new reality off? We need Kylie Minogue. And Mickey Rooney. Michael. And so this is a schematic to show where the light went to seed and hold the fifth dimensional heaven or territory. So Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper, they don't know where they came from. They just know they are from the light. But they come from Aishwarya Rai, Gwyneth Paltrow, Oprah Winfrey, Robbie Amell, Ian Anthony Dale, and Dave Chappelle in this schematic for this educational purpose. But then they come together in this lower dimensional realm, right? Because the fifth is lower than the sixth. And they become the principalities of this area, which is owned by Lucy in the sky, shining bright like a diamond. And so all together you can call them Lucy. And all together you can call this Venus. But because Venus doesn't exist in this dimension, they take the place of Venus in function. Does that make sense? So as you can see, these people are not elected here. They are emanated here. Kind of like cell division or mitosis or meiosis. No one takes a vote and says, okay, are we going to divide? Yes, we are. Are we going to conceive? Yes, we are. It just happens through emanations. More and more and more divisions. It's a fractal kind of thing. So then these as a group get together and they say, gee, we need to hold the third dimension. So what kind of people should we get together and make to hold the fifth, well, to transition the third dimension to the fifth, to pull in the fifth dimension to the third? Does that make sense? So let's just pretend that all these people don't exist in the 3D, they just live up there. And now I'm going to talk about people who do live in the 3D that you can see because we are in the 3D. So just for argument's sake, let's say in these Lady Gaga and Rina Sawayama comes together and they say, you know what? Madonna and Kylie and Taraji, and they're like, you know, this music business, we need to, this entertainment, we need to protect these kids. And all of them are probably getting it from one of these guys or all of these guys. You know what I mean? Like the one with the most similar type of vibration. But it's all mixed together because it's light, separated by dimensions, carriers, vessels. So then the women get together and talk, or the divine feminines, and they say, okay, let's make Barrett Paul for the third dimension. I'm going to put it in there rather. Okay, let me put it like this. So like, okay, we need a Barrett Paul in there. He's going to hold down that grid. And then they're like, well, what about the sneaky people in the rural areas where people aren't looking, the people who sneak in and steal people and try and make human sacrifices out of people and do SRA? Who's going to catch them while Barrett Paul is in Hollywood vanquishing the Hollywood demons? Who's going to vanquish the rural demons? Don't worry. We'll get... Oh, who said that? Who? Terrence Howard, Trevor Noah, Lady Gaga, and Kylie Minogue, and Mirwais. And Madonna, probably. No, they all brought me. They said, no, yes, all of them. Bradley Cooper was there. He said, we need Kelly. Version 3.5.7. We need him. And here I am. Charlie Man is here. Don't worry, everything's fine. And then Taraji and Trevor Noah and Mickey Rooney were like, excuse me, what about the common man in the cities? You know, the 69%, the normal humans. What about them? The 30% and the 60%. And then we said, fine, let's make Anonymous. So all of these things I've shown you are vessels of light, except the fires of the ethers on the outside, which represent the outside of the cube. And then as you go in, there's that vortexy hole surrounded in light. Whereas in the past, that hole was on the outside of the Sephirah. Now that darkness is on the inside of the Sephirah. All of them. And this Sephirot. Schematic. And so when I go over the Kabbalah, I don't do it like the things you go and download on the internet. I do it in a way for your understanding. Because again, as Kylie Minogue told you, in the name of understanding, a problem should be shared. And we looked in the Tree of Life lesson that Bina is all about Bina is all about understanding. And that's the real beauty of the divine feminine, that it's understanding. Because think about Lady Macbeth. She could have just told her husband, you know what, get over it, lower yourself. But she said, no, thanks for telling me, so I'm going to tell you what to do. Now, obviously, she was wrong. But Shakespeare was trying to show you an hermetic principle about the divine feminine, that it is understanding. So be careful, King, or be careful, Macbeth, listening to this, because you don't want to be caught up in it. You want to be able to analyze the beauty of it so you can choose to live in the beauty of it. In the third ring, in the 100% zone, with the divine ethers. But as a star marine, you need to know what's going on schematically. So when you look at this, see it as a map to reality. And so if you say, oh, there's Mvikeli, I'm listening to his song, what is it about? Where does it come from? Well, in your mind, you can associate it with all of these people. Because yes, a lot of people think I'm a Satanist. And a lot of people think Oprah is kidnapping people. My experience of her in Lumania has been nothing but fun, perfect. So I can relate to the idea of Psalm 4 in the Bible. How long will my good works be put to shame? Because all you do is you are an alien, you sacrifice your own kind of privacy in a sense to complete missions that you get sent on. You read the Bible and you see things about creatures with wings and eyes everywhere, and you can't make the connection because you're not seeing that. You're seeing cameras that look like that. And then it's not until you see AI and you actually see what this thing looks like in the Bible, and you're like, oh, I've seen that. I've seen that since I was a kid. Oh, and when I went to film school, everybody else saw it too. Oh, and when I went online, everybody else saw it too. So we're not saying it's real because this is a movie, it's entertainment. And just like in the 1920s, 1927, silent film actors were put out of work when talkies were introduced. And no one cried for those silent film stars who had bad voices and couldn't work in talking pictures. People just moved on. And then when color pictures came, Technicolor, look at them in the front offices, the Technicolor. That's from Sunset Boulevard, by the way, which was shot in black and white when Technicolor was there. So many people who worked in the black and white film industry lost their jobs because color movies came. And then when television came, so many film actors lost their jobs because people were staying at home. And now that we have these AI videos, artificial intelligence, people are scared again. But what I'm saying is, if you can see these patterns happen all the time, not just now, the ones I've mentioned, but all the way back to the Torah even, and the Holy Bible. Why do you not think us aliens would know that? Why do you not think with our advanced technologies, we would create something to mitigate that? Why do you not think we would help you? Of course we would. Because everything that's happening has been said already before it existed by God the Most High. And I'm just a humble farm boy, king, prince, priest, harvester, light worker of Melchizedek. So we've been here since the beginning. And all we're saying is just come into the light. And so, because we have defeated the darkness, the ruler of the third dimension is no longer Beelzebub and Leviathan. It is now Lucy. And Lucy is a better version of this light than Beelzebub and Leviathan. Because Lucy works with the contractual bilateral agreement of Moses. But even better, Lucy was overcome by Jesus in the desert. She took Jesus to the fifth dimension. and showed him everything. And you know it because we go there and we see everything too. And it's beautiful. We see all the technology. Yes, Jesus saw the same thing, but he did not touch it so that we could touch it. He refused it so that we could inherit it. And those cars and houses that you want, those mansions, they're all in there. They're still there. Because when Jesus died, guess where he went for 3 days? He went to the fifth dimension. He went to the fourth dimension. He went everywhere and he sealed the contracts. So now imagine all of these people are like the Congress, but Jesus is the King of Kings, the ruler. And so nothing bad can happen to you, nothing can harm you, because Jesus has taken control over everything, ruling on the right hand of God the Most High. So God the Most High can take care of this. Because he's the king, the ultimate king. So if someone does something bad to you or harms you, God the Most High will punish them. And if Jesus says, hey, someone is trying to use some high-tech voodoo, or not voodoo, voodoo is a real religion, hoodoo with an H. Someone's trying to use some black magic on you. You might need to learn some tarot cards. Then you will get understanding. And you won't do it in the dark. You won't do it against anyone. You will do it to gain understanding on why, how, or what principality you are fighting in. Because sometimes people will try and upload you to virtual reality by trying to lock you in a fake reality. They're called narcissists, psychopaths. They gaslight you. They make you see a reality that's not real. They trap you in the fourth dimension. But now that the spirit of discernment is what you are being trained to receive, you'll be able to see when someone's lying to you. You'll be able to look at whether someone is a good actor or a bad actor. And we don't want bad actors because they spoil it for everyone. And that's why we put them in there. And this doesn't mean that these people hold all the power. This just is a way of thinking of God in terms of making it personal to you, so that if you are digging ditches for a job or you are a celebrity, you can still talk to the same God and realize he's hearing you just the same. No one has any fast queue to the front, not even us. Because he's everywhere, all the time. Omniscient, omnipresent, there is only one. So you can call the emanations of light a kind of filtering process. The same way you put filters on your pictures on Instagram, it's the same way the light comes down to us, the knowledge. It's hidden at first, but it filters what it can, what it does what it can do. Like a long time ago, I used to have people spying on me. Well, a peeping Tom, really. But a peeping Tom, that word sounds bad because it was just someone in school and, it wasn't that creepy. So I didn't close the curtains or report them. I just put Vaseline on the windows to filter it. So that's how light works. You gotta just, understand that everything you see around you is fake, is artificial. And so you need the spirit, instead of being scared, to tell you. And you can use prophecy, or the prophecy might tell you to use divination or alchemy. And so in that process, that's what this helps you do. Because when you zoom out, it's called metacognitive thinking. You zoom out of a problem and you realize, why am I freaking out about this? Why am I upset that there's traffic? Why am I? Because there's worse or there's better stuff happening elsewhere. Worse or better stuff happening elsewhere. That's one way to look at it if you're a nihilist. Oh, well, I can be happy because someone else is having a worse life. That's okay, as long as you let it go. Or you could say, hey, everything is really hard and crappy right now, so I'm just going to allow myself to be taken up into one of these heavens. I'm going to go watch an Ian Anthony Dale movie. That's what I'm going to do. Or a TV show with him. And every time I watch it, I feel calm. I feel better because he has a trustworthy face. And that's also dangerous because what if he's the killer? No, we're not doing the clip-off today. But he has a trustworthy face. So when I feel sad, I watch him and then I feel better. Or I listen to a Madonna and Mirwais album and then I feel better. And then I come online in the 3D, third dimension, and then I spread the feeling that I got from Ian Anthony Dale and Madonna. And I could call it God, I could call it Ian Anthony Dale, I could call it Jesus, I could call it David Chappelle, Robbie Amell, Aishwarya Rai. It's the same thing. We all have different names for the same process. And the reason I put Tom Cruise and James Earl Jones in them is because these people make $100 million a movie. The cinema is their church because that means everyone is going to their movies. And we are saying, as aliens, we want all of you to come back home. All of you. 1, 2, 3, 30, 60, 100. It's just that these particular lectures are for the 100. Now you guys know what the 100 is about. You see, we've been in your reality seeding ourselves forever. Because it's not just going to be Gwyneth Paltrow here, you understand, right? It's going to be a cluster. Because what this is when the fourth dimension exploded, all the souls of the aliens up there, the ones people think are in the sky and they're not, all those souls shattered, million little pieces, DNA, nightmare, catastrophe. And so imagine Gwyneth Paltrow collecting DNA that's mixed in with Martians and Aryans and Plutonians and Melchizedekians. It's a nightmare. And then they're sitting there in the spaceship with Oprah and they say, okay, well, how do we separate all this DNA to recreate this thing and make it work better? Do we put it do we go back to the beginning and make it all Lyrian and separate? Like, how do you separate it? Because by the time the Orion Wars came, there had been so much alien hybridization, it was like out of this planet. And that's why the Anunnaki were created, to keep the peace. So they were created using the pure bred Lyrians and the pure bred Dracos to forge an artificial kind of peace. So this whole artificial idea is not new. So why don't people just let it go and get over it? We have, the 100 has. And so in this kind of crew, they try to put the DNA together. And so we, the 100, happen to be from the Anunnaki, which had more of the DNA intact. If you don't know the story, look it up, maybe Google, or read The Law of One. Yes. The person who trained me, I've never read it, but the person who trained me was a proponent of that. And so imagine they put together the soul DNA, right? Because there's a light body. And even in Egyptian mythology, they tell you that they chopped up Osiris or one of the gods and then they had to put them together. Put that in your homework. But they put this DNA together to seed the fifth dimension, which then made us. To be the carriers of that light. Isn't that beautiful? So you are in there as well. Because it's not about names or the famous people. No. It's about you. You are this. This is you. You. So don't fight with yourself. Okay, so that's going to be it for this lesson. Please check out the show notes and you'll be able to see all of the people I referenced in this. Also, check out this for evidence and proof. Look at the highlight section and you will see I have been telling you about the aliens in the sky being fake forever. We are the real aliens. Please do not give up your destiny. Do not let a destiny swap happen on your watch, because this is your territory too. You're a Star Marine and you're on duty. You've been activated.